Welcome to Family and Economics. I'm Brenda Vassar-Taylor, your host today with our guest, Jerry Cox. And we're here to talk about the problems or how great is recreational marijuana. Jerry, tell us what's going on.
Well, first of all, recreational marijuana is not great.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Seriously, state of Arkansas is going to face some really important decisions this year. There are at least 2 recreational marijuana proposals that are being offered. Right now, the sponsors of these proposals are circulating petitions to try to put 2 different recreational marijuana amendments on the ballot here in Arkansas. And these would be amendments to the state constitution.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
What they would do is basically they would write recreational marijuana into our state constitution. And it would be much like what you see in Colorado, Washington State, California, some other states that have had some really serious problems with recreational marijuana. But that's currently in process. And we'll know really by around the 3rd of July if these groups are successful in gathering almost 90,000 signatures that they have to gather in order to qualify for the ballot.
Now, the ballot, as in November, this election, when we vote for president.
Yep,
again.
it'd be the general election ballot in November.
Okay.
And so obviously if they get a majority of the votes, then recreational marijuana would become legal everywhere in the state of Arkansas.
Now, there are 2 amendments.
At least 2, and I think maybe there's a 3rd one lurking out there, and there could be even more. We don't know yet. But right now, there are 2 main ones that are circulating petitions. And I describe them as bad and worse. And so those are your choices, either bad or worse. And we can get into a little bit of that, but I would like for people to understand that we already pretty much have the availability of marijuana throughout the state of Arkansas because we have so-called medical marijuana. So right now, if I walk into a doctor's office and he's willing to write me a note saying that I have pain or nausea, then I can take that note and I can go get a marijuana card and I can buy and use pretty much all the marijuana I want to as it is. But now this is market expansion by big marijuana industry from out of state that wants to come in and pretty much just run the marijuana market here in Arkansas the way they do elsewhere.
How many states have recreational marijuana at this point?
I think it's about 8, but I'm not sure. The number changes, obviously, because it's continuing to grow. But I will say this, in many of those states, we're beginning now to see the effects of it. And let me just say straight up, all the bad things that you could imagine might come along actually happen.
Now, we want to talk about economics, so be sure to include that. Let's hear some specifics.
The economics of that is Colorado's homeless population has skyrocketed. And so now people are moving to Colorado so they can use marijuana, live on the streets, and somebody has to pick up the pieces of that, clean up from that, so to speak. So it puts an extra burden on public services to try to deal with that many homeless people in there. The other thing is automobile accidents increase, which is going to obviously cause people to miss work. It's going to cause insurance rates to go up. It's going to create other kinds of problems that are going to impact the economy. And so you have those kinds of situations going on. I talked to a guy the other day, and he said, I am extremely concerned about recreational marijuana's impact on the workforce. He said, we can't find people who can pass a drug test.
Well, I have clients that they're required to give drug testing, and their employees must pass in order for them to stay in business.
Right.
Federal government, I mean, working in the industries for the military.
Correct. And so what that does is it has a huge impact on the workforce. And so Arkansas wants to be competitive when it comes to having a good workforce and all that. if we legalize recreational marijuana, that's going to put us a step or two back if we do that. And so that alone is a good economic reason to step away from this, because we don't need a debilitated workforce. We need a capable workforce.
But I have been told that marijuana is, not that debilitating as a worker.
Well,
you think better than ever.
Who told you that? See, here's the thing. Big marijuana industry is doing the same thing with marijuana that the tobacco companies did with tobacco back in the 50s. Oh, it's good for you. Oh, you got asthma? Smoke a cigarette. Tobacco is not harmful. And we're hearing the same thing about marijuana. But the science is totally contrary to that. The science indicates that if a person starts using marijuana when they're young, they're going to lose about 9 points off of their IQ, and they'll never get it back. They're going to suffer permanent damage to their memory. And some people are going to become so psychologically addicted, I didn't say physically addicted, but psychologically addicted to it, that they will never achieve their full potential. In other words, you sit around and smoke weed all the time. You may not graduate college. You may not hold down a job. You may not be what you could have been otherwise. And so to say it's not that bad, well, how bad does it need to be bad? And the Surgeon General of Arkansas says it's really bad.
Well, I appreciate that. But since we're talking about economics, just to finish up on that point, what about the losses to the state revenue? Because, taxing the sale of recreational marijuana, I mean, you hear that as a reason to go forward with it.
For every dollar that a government collects in taxes on a vice, for every dollar that you collect, it does $9 worth of harm to the society. And you cannot tax it enough for it to be profitable. It is impossible to do that. And the reason I say that is, how can you put dollar values on the fact that a man lost his job and stopped supporting his family and they all had to go on welfare? How do you put a dollar value on the fact that somebody was stoned and driving down the highway and they killed a family? How do you put a dollar value on all of these societal harms that this is going to cause? We need to stop thinking that we can smoke and drink and use marijuana and gamble our way to economic prosperity. It does not work that way. And so if you want to talk economics, there's plenty of good reasons to step away from this.
Well, Conduit for Action is about freedom and giving people the right to do wrong. But when we're trying to make good choices and improve the economics in Arkansas, I think you're onto something, Jerry. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.